All right, guys, I'm back once again for a planetary update. I'm a little bit late on this Neptune retrograde in 2019, but all else aside, let's just move forward. All right, guys, so Neptune retrograde in Pisces in 2019. It's from June 21st, 2019, until November 27th, 2019. It is stationed retrograde, which means starts retrograde at 18 degrees and 43 minutes in Pisces. And it is stationed direct or moving forward um, at 15 degrees and 55 minutes in Pisces. And it's also happening in the Nakshatra Revati. All right, guys, let me go ahead and like psychically tune into this and let's see what comes through. During this time or this transit, watch out for creating your own cat and mouse game where like we trap ourselves in our own illusions through our own delusions. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Be mindful of like twin flame union journeys at this time regarding like honesty due to each individual's like distorted lens of reality. Interesting. Also, I wonder why the twin flame stuff's coming through. Very interesting, guys. Be mindful of like mistaking someone as your twin flame during this transit. Also, like be mindful of others telling you what you want to hear when you feel you need to hear it. Like, okay, additionally, taking into consideration like the fact of such contrivance to begin with, meaning on their end. Take your time with relationships during this transit. Possess and exhibit like patience, Don't forget to give yourself those 2 seconds as to like take a step back to make sure you're not running with only half the story. Okay, be sure to ask yourself, does the ends justify the means? Whereas like, are you compromising your integrity for materialistic 3D gains? During this time, it's vital to have like the right relationship with the truth of the reality within any given situation, by approaching it with a neutral mindset. So you grant yourself the ability to make the correct choices and decisions, which are in turn aligned with your moral compass. For you will feel every bit of it because it is your creation. Let's just make the best decisions for ourselves and to see through the smoke and mirrors during this time, because that's what Neptune retrograde is pretty much a lot about. We'll discuss that a little bit later, but okay. Okay, all right. At the same time, you should actually be glad when something is your fault. Remember that, when something is your fault, you're given the chance to fix the situation. Whereas, guys, like, where you're never the victim because you are the lighthouse. There is absolutely nothing wrong with compromising within the situation, but compromising yourself within the situation is an entirely different thing. However, the other party being okay with and allowing you to compromise yourself is what's most important here. Be mindful of narcissism or narcissistic relationships or peoples during this transit. But all in all, all in all, it is safe. All in all, it is safe to conclude that a true narcissist is oblivious to the fact of actually being a narcissist or being one. Narcissism is selfishly feeding off of the other or the second party's energy with no regard for their emotional well being. So, those are like the two things we can kind of safely say about narcissists. So, just to be completely honest here, I mean, a baby is a narcissist. If you think about it, Okay, focus, Mark. Okay, this is interesting. The person giving the mistreatment, as well as the person receiving the mistreatment, are in fact both narcissists. For the person giving the mistreatment is reinforcing like an internal wound within the person receiving the mistreatment. So the person receiving it is actually feeding off of the giver of the mistreatment in a subconscious enabling manner. All the while, like both individuals are oblivious, and unconscious of being a narcissist. Given both individuals are held within the same regard by default. Remember, guys, that narcissism comes in many different forms. Wow. Okay. Remember to refrain from placing so much worth in other individuals and other people's opinion about your own personal beliefs, choices, and decisions. For at the end of the day, a disagreement will never be the end all be all, Given that another person's opinion is rarely ever based upon the entirety or the entire truth of your situation. So, like, in hindsight, they're actually running with half truths. Yet somehow you believe that their input shall be like more valuable than your own. When in actuality, like their input is distorted and delusional by nature, given the half truths that they're running with. So why would you ever place so much value and like credibility in a delusional and distorted opinion? Like at the same time, like allowing it to compromise your personal path and integrity? Believing someone else's delusion will always keep you subservient instead of self-determined. Alrighty, guys, that's what came through psychically as I was tuning in. Now let's go ahead and speak about Neptune and then the Nakshatra Revati here. So Neptune is basically like the natural ruler. Not basically, it is. Neptune is the natural ruler of Pisces and the 12th house. Like, with the 12th house, it can speak of our subconscious, jails, asylums, hospitals, deep and dark spirituality or the dark side of spirituality, the avoided unknown, where people don't really want to deal with the unknown, that type of thing. Like the type of stuff that like happens behind like the scenes or behind closed doors, and among other things within that same realm. It's also like, the house of deep spirituality in terms of like mediumship and in terms of like communicating with the departed, spirit, ether in a sense, So they also call the 12th house like the house of our undoing, where it's like, guys, we must surrender to like the vast unknown, experiencing our own anomalous shadow and light worlds, And with Pisces naturally here, it's like feeling every emotion on the human spectrum simultaneously. Like individually and collectively, like all at the same time, like feeling it. This is like, we can also speak of like with Pisces here, it being like omnipresence. It's like experiencing sacrifice of like the self and of the ego and of the psyche, where we learn to like cultivate the truest sense of unconditional love, compassion, and understanding. But, here in the 3D, we experience love more physically. It's great. Don't get me wrong. But love from source is like an entirely different, thing. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is like where we begin to like experience love, but love from source within the 12th house. Really, guys, just and the Neptune just in itself, Neptune shows us where in life we lie to ourselves. It's like Neptune shows us how our own delusions can often lead to escapism, which manifests false realities and which our perception creates. Those areas in life where we manipulate, deceive, lie, cheat, you know, and we like, but our own self, due to denial and unaccountability. It's like it's basically the smoke and mirrors game. Neptune shatters all egoic preconceptions and paradigms without permission. It's like where the destruction of our fantasy worlds expose our avoidances, true intentions, and motivations and motives. Neptune here, guys, like it just forces us to face reality without any regard for our feelings, volition, or any of our invented excuses that veer us away from taking personal responsibility for our own staged performances of self demise. I know Neptune sounds great, huh? I'm just kidding. But guys, that's Neptune. That's what it is. It's the 12th house. It's the last of the last. All right, so this Neptune retrograde is also transiting in the nakshatra Revati, which is ironically ruled by Mercury, which Mercury is retrograde as well during that time. Here, Revati speaks of the void, where like one stage of life is at an end and the next stage has not yet begun. It's like feeling a sense that like things are taking form, but just not quite there yet. Here we're being asked, have all prior attachments been dissolved? Where we become, where we also become much more reflective and restorative, like causing us to like ponder about things and situations and, experiences. It also like gives us the chance to either emotionally gather ourselves together or to like feel nervous and not. Gather ourselves together or feel nervous regarding, like the circumstances involved within a situation also too. And it's also here too in Revity where like we sense that something is being prepared. However, just like not quite there yet. Here is where we get the push, to take like a leap of faith due to finding ourselves in a situation where we're being asked to muster up a sense of faith. Due to us being transferred from like one phase of life to another or being in that in that phase that has not yet come into being, it's asking us or it's requesting for endurance. It's like time itself in a sense, because this nakshatra is recognized as the preservative and protector of like the principle of nature. Here is where brevity can be also described as like the power to nourish, where like active time becomes the concept of passive time. So the primary motivation here, guys, is to like, to grant us with like the heavens above, to grant us with the liberation, or with liberation, like the complete end. It's like the complete negation has taken place, being in the void, regarding like moving on to like the final merging and getting ready to move into another phase of existence. This nakshatra is very transitory. It's very like transitioning, into like one phase into the next. But like while you're transitioning, you're like, what is going on? But you can still feel it like it's coming. Here, with Revity, we're being prepared for a new realization of truth and a fresh yearn for a meaningful life. And Revity also helps us to become more yielding easily and rapidly regarding like our spiritual path and journey. This then influences us to turn more outward and to consider the feelings of others. Here is like where we begin to manifest a more useful and meaningful existence. Like an existence that like involves a change and an impulse to begin anew. Here we can also, guys, like as a collective, like releasing that which no longer serves us, whereas our material cravings become completely annihilated within the process. Here we're also like reborn in wisdom and attain pure awareness due to our discrimination and dissatisfaction with like external forms of validation. Additionally, guys, like brevity encourages the involvement of the soul in self-preservative like activities, not only as individuals but as a collective as well. All right, guys. So, like, pretty much all in all, Neptune retrograde 2019 will reveal to us how we find wisdom in the most unlikely places. All right, guys. That's my take on Neptune retrograde here, 2019 in Pisces. It was a little long. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in with me, and as always, God bless and love and light.